Hola, chess people. Coach Matthew back with a training tip for working with complete beginners. This is for those of you who may be coaching, training, working with younger family members, somebody down the street, one of your own children who's showing an interest in chess who's quite young. This is for you. How do you get a beginner up to speed, moving the pieces as quickly as possible and correctly? I learned about this drill from Chessmaster, the software we just covered earlier in the week, and I find it to be highly effective and also a lot of fun for the beginners. So, the drill consists of requiring the beginner to capture every single time they move the piece, and they're only going to be moving one piece at a time. They're going to start with the king. Move the king and capture multiple times, eliminate all of the opposing pieces from the board, and then repeat with other pieces instead of the king. Now, the opposing pieces on the board do not move or capture. They don't move or capture, so it's only the beginner who's moving. Let's see an example. Let's start with the king in its starting location. Okay, so what we're going to do is set up a sequence of possible captures for this black king. Every time it moves, it's going to capture. Now, you don't want the king moving into check, and you also don't want the king capturing the other king. You do not want the king ever being captured. So this would be incorrect because, of course, it would be moving into check, but you do not ever have the opponent's king come off the board via a capture. Okay, so here we have our position set up. The beginner is going to have the black king. And every time they move, they must capture a white piece. Now, some beginners will attempt to bulldoze the opponent's pieces and plow them off the board. Make sure they're in control and moving correctly. The preferred way for a beginner to capture is to have them move their piece onto the square they're capturing on and nudge, gradually nudge, in a non-violent movement. Nudge the opponent's piece off of the center of the square to the side, and then remove that captured piece from the board. And then they can move again. Now, you don't want them to have their hand that they just moved with hover over the piece, simply move again very quickly, and then move again, with their hand hovering over the piece or over the board. Have them remove their hand from over the board, under control, and then go ahead and move again. And every time they move, they must capture. The opponent's pieces will not move. Make sure they are moving correctly. Make sure the king is not moving into check. And make sure you never capture a king. The pawns should not be on the first rank or the 8th rank. So every time you move a piece, you must capture. I typically start with the king and then ramp up in order of complexity. After the king, I go to the rook, the bishop, the queen. If you want to throw the pawn somewhere before where I have it, go right ahead. Make sure that when they promote, move the pawn for the last time and capture, that they do promote. And you can explain promotion to them then. And of course, here we've already assumed that you've presented how the pieces move and capture to the students. I'll perhaps provide another video with that information. So this gives the students an enjoyable experience. A lot of beginning players will be extremely proud of all the pieces they have captured. They'll be very proud. They'll group them together, which is very nice to see. They're already having fun and they just started playing chess. This helps them build physical memory. They get to move the piece repeatedly, see how it moves, see how it captures, do it themselves. This also works well in group class situations. You can have a lot of students around the board all taking part moving the piece. And if you would like to give a little bit more of an experiential go at it, have them do it a couple of times. With the knight drill, I've had some students do it more than once and more than twice. And that's okay. The first go at the knight path can be quite trivial, make it more complicated, and then even more complicated. The same with the queen. So, to bring a beginner up to speed with how the pieces move and capture as quickly as possible, set up a sequence of opposing pieces they may capture every time they move. The opposing pieces do not move and do not capture. Make sure the student is never capturing the king and is always making legal moves, meaning the king is not moving into check when they're moving the king. And pawns captured are not on the 8th rank or the 1st rank. This is orthodox chess. The students generally enjoy this very much, and in a group class, you can have all of the students moving and capturing very quickly. It's a well-received drill and highly effective. Have them move the same piece. Every time they move, they must capture. The opposing pieces do not move or capture. Thank you for watching.